Okay. Hey, this is Sonic Szilvi. This is the Sonic Szilvi Show. And today we'll be chatting about dating and energies, how you can make your dating life better or worse, as a matter of fact. So it's going to be pretty cool conversation. And my guest is Susanna Crizo, who is also an author about of a book called I Love Your Energy. And she is talking more about energy, not necessarily about dating, but energies in general, how they affect our lives. And I'm waiting now for Susanna to appear, and we're going to have a cool chat. Hey.
Hi, Szilvi. How are you?
Hey, welcome to the show. We're going to have a fun chat today, okay?
Yes.
Sounds good? Okay,
yes,
so real quick for the viewers and listeners. So you wrote this book, and it's all about energy.
Mm-hmm.
And this is my copy that I got. So, and I started reading it, so I wasn't lying. See, I read already all these pages. So I'm working on it. Okay. So and we're gonna be talking about energies that and how it affects the dating life, right? Oh,
Okay, great.
Your connection is frozen again. So,
Right. Okay, so but it seems like the screen is frozen again.
Yeah, the screen is. We have some technical difficulties here a little bit. Bear with us, people.
I know it is. It is. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, we can. Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Well, this is not good.
Yeah, this is not really good. She's like strobe light.
Welcome to Portland, Oregon. Does that work better if I just hold it? Hey, it works. Okay, so I just have to hold my computer then. Yeah, so I wrote this book last year during the awful pandemic. I mean, we're still in it, but I just kind of felt I need to talk about energy because a lot of times we think that who we are on the outside is all that really matters. What you look like, what you do, how much money you got, all that stuff. But it really doesn't define us because it's our energy that brought all those things to us, technically, And so like in nature, there are like 4 different elements: water, air, earth, and fire, and they all move in different speeds. You wouldn't like try to drink fire, or swim on earth, and that's why we have those energies in us as well, and they define who we are, right? So you are what element again? You are air, right?
I'm air and fire. So it's
right,
very, and I have a little bit of earth, which you obviously know because I'm like,
yes.
I mean, I'm chill, I'm cool and all that, but I have way more like fire and energy and let's do it and go do stuff and constant moving, constant thinking.
Right. Yeah, because I'm an air side too. So for me, like thinking and conversation and all that is really, really important. So for us, like dating a person who has a lot of earth, who is a slower energy, it doesn't really work all that well, right? I mean, it's great in the beginning because they're like so stable and they hold all the money and all the material stuff, right? But then after a while, you start going like, okay, can we like sit down and have a conversation that doesn't involve like all that stuff, right? Can we just talk about like the universe or something like that? So right. So like where you go like to dating apps, for instance, and you look at people, you look at a photo, right? And then you look at the person like, oh, he's that old or he's been there and done that. And all of those are great things to know, but the most important thing is to know what is their energy. Like when you come close to them,
and it really sucks because you can't feel it. You hold your phone, you can't feel anything, and also it's just so shallow because you like judging so much on appearance. And
Exactly.
I have noticed, because I've seen pictures of my friends, obviously, and
Hmm.
and sometimes I'm thinking, oh, that's a really crappy photo of them, but when,
Right.
you see them in person,
Oh my
the
God.
whole
Yes.
energy of their personality and who they
Yes.
are
Yes.
literally changes their appearance,
It does. It does.
and I
And
sure hope that's my case too, because when I look at pictures, I'm like, oh my goodness, no, please don't.
no, I
So
hear you. I hear you.
it's
Yeah,
really super important, and we're missing out on that, and that just really
we
sucks.
are.
So okay, let me ask you a question. In your
Mhm.
opinion, what can people do who go on dating apps and without having this feeling of energy?
Right, right. So, well, the first of all is like the gut feeling. Like you see the picture and you like kind of talk to them for a minute. You kind of get this gut feeling, like, okay, who are you? But it really doesn't relate to like who there are actually in person, as you said. So I would say, let's go and see the person. Don't waste your time talking to a person like 3, 4 months, and then because what you do is literally you fall in love with an energy that doesn't exist, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you talk to a person like for several weeks or months, after a while you start creating an energy in your head, you start creating an idea of that person in your head, and when you meet the person it's kind of like a shock, like, who are you? Like, you're not the person I thought you were. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're still in the middle of a pandemic, so it's kind of like difficult to like meet people right now. But once we get out of this, I would just say, like, go for it. Like, talk for about, like, until you feel comfortable, until you feel like, this person, I could actually meet this person and not, be unsafe. But then just feel it, and then also like learn about your own energy. Unless you know who you are, how are you gonna know who the other person is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you like have this idea, we all have this idea about ourselves, right? um and it mostly comes from what other people tell us, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
this is who you should be, right?
Yeah, yeah, and here's the thing, like, so for the people who don't know what we're talking about right now, because it might be a bit like, what are they talking about right now? I have no clue. So it's a really easy. There is several ways you can find out what your which elements are controlling your energy.
Hmm.
One would be like if you look at your zodiac sign. That's just
Hmm.
one way, because there you have, like, I'm, for example, Virgo, so I have an Earth sign. Thank goodness. Otherwise, I would be bouncing off the walls right now.
Yeah,
Because
you're lucky.
I'm regulated by fire,
Right,
and then Ayurvedically, fire and air. So I have
right.
a load of motion in me. So the Earth, the Virgo, a little bit, regulates
Yes.
that a little bit for me, a little bit.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so you have the Western zodiac that you
Hmm.
can check in and see what element that is. You can
Hmm.
look at the Chinese horoscopes and see what birth year you have, and
Yes.
see what your sign is and what your, because they have, in Chinese horoscope, they have the wood, the metal,
Hmm. Yes.
the fire, the earth, and the water.
Right, right.
Right? Did I mention all of them? I think so.
I think so.
I think so.
Yes.
So so you can find out then what element you have there. And then there's also a thing called Ayurveda. And
Hmm.
Ayurveda is also working with the energies. And they have Vata, Pitta, Kapha, which is air, fire, and earth.
Right,
So and like I'm a Ayurvedic practitioner. I'm not a guru, not even. I mean, it's a lifelong study.
right.
But I can do, for example, there's a questionnaire, a really intensive questionnaire, and then when people
Mhm.
do it, they can see the percentage of each element in their bodies, a pretty accurate percentage,
Right,
actually. So,
right.
and so if you use any of these combinations, then the more you know, the better. And
Yes,
then also, and you know that, and we were talking about this, also
reason.
characteristic, there's main characteristic, like air people, they have a very active thinking. It's
Hmm.
just thinking nonstop. It just keeps
Yes.
going and going and going. Fire people, like, you can tell, so you can see it when you look at us too, right? We're very
Oh yeah.
talkative, we're very active. Fire people have passion,
Hmm.
passion. It's just like,
Right.
it just, when we talk about any subject, we get all into it. And
Yes.
earth people, they are the stable, chill, calm,
Right.
like relaxed people, and they just, yeah, they're just a solid rock, like earth,
Right. 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 Yeah, but I also found that when I was writing my book, I found that actually our bodies are the what you call the element, the fifth element, actually tells us who we really are. Because if you try to, as I said, every element has a speed, like you just mentioned as well. So fire is really, really fast. It's very volatile. It just like bursts up and kind of disappears unless it has a lot of material to burn. But so if your body tells you what element you actually are. So if you are very comfortable routine, you love just sitting home and Netflix and chill, not too much commotion, very few people, then earth is your main element, right? So if you don't, and a lot of times our bodies, when you start feeling your body's super stressed, is because you're trying to use an element that is not your main element, is perhaps your supporting element. And so so define like true happiness and kind of like this vibrant energy that makes us feel happy, because we're supposed to be, I would say, like, it's not happiness as like bliss feeling, but contentment, like feeling life is good. um that feeling we can only have it if we're not constantly stressed out. You can't have that feeling of contentment if your body is just constantly tense, right?
Mm-hmm.
So and that kind of goes into dating too. Then if you find a person, and the danger with dating is that the first 6 months oxytocin rush keeps us very mesmerized, and we feel that the other person is just like, oh my gosh, you're just in heaven with the other person, and then it goes away, and then you go like, well, who are you, right?
Yeah.
So right. So if we in the beginning already know the energies, we're not going to find that shock at the end. We're going to have a person whose energy we actually enjoy. Because if the person, as you said, like if you're fire and air, you meet someone who has a lot of earth and water in them, you're going to feel that you don't synchronize with that person's energy as well. Right. And that's going to cause stress in your own body. And then you're going to go like, well, what's wrong with you? You're making me feel this way. Right. So that's just
Well,
something. Yeah.
well, I don't know. It's kind of like weird because I almost thinking like those people could balance you out though.
Yes,
If you
and
air
that
and fire,
yes,
they could balance you out. They could give you what you don't really have. But
yes,
because honestly, I
uh-huh.
don't think I would work very well with somebody who talks all the time too, because I'm already talking all the time, and
Right,
then it
right.
becomes a competition. But I before we go to break, I want to
Yes,
mention something here.
yes.
So which is a good point. It kind of like when you were talking, it popped in
Mhm.
my head, because air, thoughts,
Yeah,
thoughts,
yeah,
thoughts.
yeah,
Um, my suggestion to people, if you guys are out there right now and dating and you are on dating apps or whatever, or even when you meet people in person, be yourself.
Right.
Because that is, if you kind of like trying to, oh, I want to do this and that just so I look good or so that they like me or whatever,
Yeah,
if
no.
you do something that is not you and you
Right,
giving that impression to that new person, then
right,
that new person thinks this is you. And then
right.
basically with that you condition them
Yes.
that this
Like,
is a good
but
thing, this is what you want, and this is
yes.
who you are. And then let's say you get in a relationship with that person,
Mhm.
and then you say, oh, okay, all right, I got in his pants now, I'm good, whatever. Now I can chill and
Mhm.
relax and do my
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah,
And then
that's
it's not gonna work. Then you
no.
literally wasted all your time,
Mhm.
right?
Right, right. I totally agree with you. Being yourself is like, and that's kind of what the energy is all about. Like, if you know your energy and you know what kind of energy you're looking for, you're not going to do that. You're not going to like pretend to be someone you're not, because you want to be honest about it, right? You want to, tell the other person, this is who I am, and this is what I want. Like, this is what I'm looking for. And are you this person? And yeah, totally.
Mhm.
Honesty is like the most important thing. And I think a lot of times we think that a person is not going to love us because we are ourselves. But if
Mhm.
you really think about it, we want the other person to be themselves. We want to see the truth. So why
Mhm.
wouldn't they? Right?
Exactly. And the thing is, if you don't match, you don't match.
Mhm,
It doesn't mean that there's wrong with anybody. It doesn't
mhm.
mean that if something
No,
is wrong with you. It
no,
doesn't mean that something is wrong with the other person. It
no.
just means that there's just no click. There's no
Exactly.
no compatible
Right,
things,
right.
and with dating apps, that's the problem.
Yes,
And we're going to talk about this in more detail after the break. This is the problem though with dating apps, that everybody is trying to please
yes,
somebody and act like who they're not, and that
yes.
is a big problem.
It is a huge
And
problem.
yeah,
Yeah,
it
totally.
really is.
Totally. You're not gonna get what you want by lying. It just doesn't happen.
Exactly. So good advice right here. Be yourself. Don't try to impress people. And we're gonna be going to break just now, and we'll be right back after these messages.
Sorry, like, are we off?
No, not yet.
Okay, sorry.
Oh, relax radio.
ICL Call, a smart and reliable way to make international calls. Now you can call from anywhere in the world using ICL Call app without any roaming charges. You can also use our pinless services, not only in the UK but also from Europe, and call your loved ones abroad with competitive rates. Use ICL Call service from your landline, PC or any mobile phones. Register free on www.iclcall.com and start using the service that suits you.
Hey, and we are back. This is Sonic Szilvi. We are talking here. I'm talking here with Susanna Crizo, and we're talking about dating and energies. So it's a super cool topic. And I was thinking while I was watching the ads, I was thinking, we were talking about how you should be honest when you go on dating apps. But so know who you are, and get familiar, as Susanna said, get familiar with your elements are. Learn about yourself, and then you kind of know what reactions you want, and what you can deal with, and what you also give the other person, right? So honesty is really cool. Like, for example, like if you, okay, let's just talk about me for a minute here. So me, for example, if I chat with somebody and they like say hey, okay, that's all they say, hey, that's like already a no for me, because if somebody cannot put a sentence together, it's already like no, because they just like not communicative enough, and I'm totally into communication. And Susanna, you have to keep your plug, hold your plug or something, because you freezing again. I can't really see you moving.
I am. I am. Yeah, I can tell. I don't know. I just the break just killed my connection again, I guess. Yeah, I'm trying to find a good spot so that the internet starts working again,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out if I move closer. Come on.
This is the
Yeah.
high-speed
Well, this is no
internet
good.
connection in the USA, people.
But anyway, so I was just gonna also want to talk about. Yes, yes. I know. It's just it wants to come and go. But if you can hear me, yeah, I totally agree with you. And I just want to say too that when you go out on a date, there are two ways to look for love. So you can look for the same energy, or you can look for the complementing energy, right? So that's the what you talked about. So you would prefer Earth perhaps because it gives you stability, right?
Well, maybe. I'm not sure about that. It's like I'm just throwing it out. It's kind of like
My God.
a really fine tuning stuff when it comes to dating, because you don't want to have too much of the same energy, because then it becomes a competition. But at the same time, you don't want to be probably completely the opposite, because I mean, I
Mhm.
dealt with people like that too, where you have to like pull
Right.
every
Yes.
word out of them, and you pull and pull and pull, and you're like, "Ugh, I'm
Right.
just tired. So it's like, it's really a fine tuning. But I think the biggest problem truly is that when people don't appear who they are, then what happens is what
Right.
you explained, that you actually falling in love or are attracted to a person that is not real, that is just a make believe, and you just basically live in a fairy tale. And then, of course, your emotions add to it, and you just totally create, yeah, a fantasy. And that's all you're going to create. So, and I think that is actually the bigger problem, to finding the people who are actually not pretending or backward, or bend backwards, to please somebody. And that's actually, it's called the, even when you like getting together with somebody, really new relationship, that's what called the honeymoon phase. Because the honeymoon phase is always cool. Everybody's in love, everybody is like, getting you flowers and this and that, and going the extra mile. But once they reach this comfort level, then they go into who they really are, and that's when the big surprise comes. So, but if people could just be who they are right away on dating apps or in real life, that would make it much easier to actually find your perfect match.
Okay, am I back?
Yeah.
Oh, hi. All right, sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry about this. It's just nothing I can kind of do about that. Anyway, so repeat what you said like the last 3 minutes, because I don't think I heard a word. Sorry.
Yeah, I basically just said that, the biggest problem is that people pretend, and they bend backwards, to please the
Right.
other, going
Right.
into this honeymoon phase. And then after the comfort zone kicks in, that's when they become who they really are. And that's when, the conflicts start happening,
Right. Right.
the fights and everything, because then all of a sudden, and this is like, we talked about this earlier, not on the show, but privately, that a very, very big issue here is also vacation,
Right. Right. Yes.
holidays,
Right.
vacation,
Right.
because everybody's happy on a holiday, right?
They are. Right.
Everybody's happy. You don't have to deal with your daily problems. You don't have household to take care of.
Right.
You don't have to go to work and be aggravated by some coworker or whatever. You're just happy, and you have the money. You don't have any financial problems, you
Right.
know.
Right.
And so,
Sorry, I'm gonna just try to move my computer again so it won't break. All right. Yeah, no, it's absolutely true. So when you go on a vacation, you think that the whole world is just like it's all beautiful. It's paradise, right? And you don't like really truly see the person, like they're not cranky, they're not angry. You don't see there's no conflict because everyone's super happy all the time. And then when you go home, and then there's laundry and there's dishes and there's bills and all these other things, and then suddenly you start seeing them from a completely different perspective, right? And you start seeing them from who they truly, truly are when they're stressed. And that's what I was talking about. The stress factor is when, when you are perfectly relaxed, you're perfectly happy, right? Your energy is vibrant and happy. But when you add a little stress to it, what happens then, right? And if you meet a person whose energy is so different from yours that, so that basically, like, okay, if we put fire and earth in the same room, fire is going to say, let's do something about this, right? And earth is going to say, let me think about it, right? And then fire goes like, well, how long are you going to want to think about it? And earth goes like, well, till I find a solution. And fire person is not going to be happy with that, right? They're going to be, yeah, so they're going to be like, no, we're going to have to find a solution to it now, today, right? So so if you're then on a vacation, but on a vacation you don't see that, right? The earth person is going to be like, oh, I love your fire. And the fire person is going to be like, oh, you're so, lovely, because you are lovely, right?
You're so chill, you're so cool,
Yeah,
you're so
exactly.
awesome.
Like, oh my god, have another drink.
Right.
Right.
So ideally, this is just, I'm throwing this out, like ideally the best way to meet somebody is in a stress situation.
Right. Just
I
what
mean,
they truly are.
honestly,
Yeah.
because then you know exactly how they react. They know exactly what they're gonna do in any sort of conflict.
Right.
Yeah, and it's just like, and yeah, it's totally, it would drive me insane too, because I would wanna, when there's a problem, I would wanna talk about it. I would wanna do something and find a solution, and not like, oh, okay, let me hibernate for 6 months and then I talk to you in 6 months.
Right.
That's just like, but some people are like that.
Some people
and
are
it's like,
yeah.
Let me just tell you out there, everybody who's on a dating app frustrated, like I'm on a dating app, but it's like I'm trying to meet people and stuff like that. It's not just necessarily a romance thing. It's just I want to just connect with people, which is the same thing, friends. It goes with friends too. It doesn't have to be a romantic relationship, You're just gonna have friends you don't click with, and that has to do with energy too. But anyway, so if you're out there and you're frustrated,
right,
because it's a super frustrating experience, to do anything online, as a matter of fact, but dating apps are just like crazy. There's nothing wrong with you. That's all I want to say. There is nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with any of you. The problem is that you have to just find the person who totally compliments you and who really needs what you are giving.
Yes.
Exactly. Like, because like fire people like us, fire air people, we can be too much for some people, and some people literally cannot handle us. They're like, oh, like, no, go away from me, like, too much. I have been told by somebody years ago, and they were actually in Scotland, and he was telling me, Sylvia, I feel your energy through the freaking computer.
Yes, and it's perfectly, like, it's possible. Like, energy is all around it. It's not just, you don't just feel the energy when you're really close to someone. You can also feel it across the world because energy moves. But it all depends, like, we can also shut it off, right? We can, like, not feel it if we don't want to. And of course, with a strange person we never met, it's harder to feel that energy because you're not sure if you're feeling your own energy or your thoughts about them, right? But yeah, I've been told too that I'm a little overwhelming occasionally. That they need to kind of take a break and just kind of like, okay, I'll talk to you next week. I'm like, okay. So and that's kind of like, but that's important. It's important to know then, your own energy and what you want, what you're capable of, right? Because if you go with this idea, like, if you watch too many movies and you read too many romance books, you're going to get this idea of what love is, right? And then suddenly you meet this person and it's not like that. There's not going to be probably fireworks every time you kiss. It's not going to be like, oh my gosh,
damn it.
Yeah, I know, right?
I just busted my bubble, stop busting my bubble. I want to have freaking fireworks,
I know. We do, because we're fire and we want the fireworks, right? We want all of that. But it's probably not, it's going to happen like a couple of times, and then it's going to be more like, let's light a fire, and watch it. So, but if you know your own energy and you know what you have in you, then you can also find the other person who kind of wants the same thing, So, but coming back to that vacation, yes. So when you go on a vacation, your brain leaves you too. Like, you're not thinking straight. You're not thinking like, okay, this is what I want in my life. You're thinking like, okay, the beach is there. Let's have a drink. This is good. Reality doesn't exist. And then you actually fall in love with the vacation energy, not the person in front of you. So when you go home and you go like, then you look around and you start like the energy starts going away. And then you look at this person and go like, huh, yeah, maybe not.
Yeah.
That's vacation regret is a real thing, vacation romance regret. So yeah, totally.
Totally. Okay, we have to take a little break right now, and we'll be back with more chit chat about relationships and energies.
Oh, relax radio.
আরে আরিফ কি তো হইছে তোমার?
রাহেন ভাই, আমার সংসারে কোনো শান্তি রইল না। সারাক্ষণ ঝগড়াঝাটি লাগিয়েও থাকে। আমি এখন কিতা করতাম, তুমি আমার একটা বুদ্ধি দাও।
বাজার একটা বই বের হইছে, সুখী পরিবার গঠনে স্বামীর ভূমিকা। ওই বইটা তুমি কিনিয়া পড়ো, তেবা ইনশাআল্লাহ হলতা সলভ হয়ে যাবে।
বই? ই বই আমি কই পাইমু?
বাঙালি যে কোনো বুক শপও ই বই তুমি পাইবাই।
আব্দুল কুদ্দুস রচিত সুখী পরিবার গঠনে স্বামীর ভূমিকা শীর্ষক বইটি পেতে যোগাযোগ করুন আপনার নিকটস্থ যে কোনো বাঙালি বুকশপে।
Oh, relax radio.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. We're talking here about dating and energies. Super interesting topic, and I think we could talk about it like all day because it's like really a lot to talk about it. But so we were talking about vacations now, like and you know that ideally you want to meet a person in a stress situation. It will tell you much more about the person than if you do a vacation thing because everybody behaves on vacation. They're on their best behavior, they're gonna be more romantic and whatever. Of course, Susanna had to burst my bubble about like no fireworks and stuff. And you know what? I'm like that. I'm like super. I wasn't really romantic, when I was younger, but now it's like I'm super romantic, and I'm just like, yeah, I want to have this kind of fairy tale awesomeness. So it kind of sucks what you said. I'm not liking that. But I think it can happen if you actually find a match when you really look into and as we told you, check out who you are, find the people who can help you also with Ayurvedic constitution to find out what your energies are, what elements your energies are regulated by. And look up, read about your zodiac. And when we talk about zodiac, it's not about like, oh, this is what's going to happen to you today.
No.
It's not that.
No.
We're not talking about that. We're talking about literally your characteristic as a person.
Right.
A whole different story. Because you know what? I don't run out and get the paper and read my astrology for today. I'm not doing that. That's just like, BS.
Right.
But as for characteristics, there is, of course, each person is an individual, but there's this base characteristic that are there that are very, very literally every Virgo has it, or every Scorpio has that, or whatever, so it's pretty accurate,
Right.
So if you know about if you know about yourself, then this will help you.
Well, I was just gonna say that also, but even though you have your sun sign, not sunshine, but sun sign, you can also have a lot of characteristics from other signs, right? So you can have, the countering whatever they call it, because I haven't studied this very much. But so just because you look at your horoscope and go like, oh, I'm a Gemini, so I have to be air. Well, you are air, but you can also have a lot of, you can have a lot of water. Maybe you're a little closer to
Mhm.
Cancer, or a lot more Earth because you're closer to Taurus, or maybe when you were born, the energies, you're Leo instead, right? So it just it's not, and that's why I mean, you don't have to spend like your whole life like reading books and trying to figure out your energy, because you live it, right? You kind of know it. Once you get the hang of it, you kind of know who you are. But I'm just saying, like, it's a lot of times we just kind of like put ourselves in a box and say like, oh, I'm this, but it's
Mhm.
not true, right? It's like we are
Yeah.
so complex. Our energy is far more complex than just, one thing, you know.
Absolutely complex, and that's when Ayurveda actually it actually calculates, your pretty close percentage of how
Right,
much we have of each element, where
right.
Ayurveda goes into the way it is with Ayurveda. It's like ether and air is the
Hmm.
vata. Fire is fire with a little bit of water, and earth is earth with a little bit of water.
Right,
So that's how the elements are, and then you can like actually calculate, and it's a pretty amazing accuracy on
right, right.
Ayurveda alone. And then if you add the zodiac, you're just gonna, well, here's the thing before we
Hmm.
confuse anybody. Here's the thing. Look at the signs of
Hmm.
what you do, like how you act, how you communicate, and whatever, and that will tell you right away what energy you have.
Right,
Like we talked about it. If you think a lot, if
right.
your mind is going all the time, you
Hmm.
definitely have a lot of. If you like to stay up all night like we do,
Yeah, we do.
we do.
We
You're
do.
all right. The
Like,
other day, yeah, like 2 days ago, I called you. No, you called
yeah.
me,
Yeah,
right?
I called you.
It
Yeah.
was like noon. Was it like noon? And I'm like,
Yeah,
I just
we
woke
were
up.
both like waking up.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
maybe coffee. I don't.
So,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
if you're
No, I
a
hear you.
person who up all night, who
Yeah.
thinks a lot, who constantly has thoughts and very logical thinking to super, active in logical thinking,
Hmm.
I can almost guarantee it, you have air in there. But when you're like a person who likes to just relax all the time,
Hmm.
not into sports and whatever, you just like to be cozy, like to eat heavy homemade foods and
Right.
chill,
Oh,
and
that's Earth.
then you have earth, and
Hmm.
if you're
Exactly.
fire, if you like very moody, very changing, like
Hmm.
boom, 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 and you explode easily, either with anger or passion, but it's just a really sudden flaming up, literally
Right.
flaming up.
Right.
So you definitely have a lot of fires. So look at that. And if with Ayurveda, so if you get
Hmm.
interested in Ayurveda, you can look into Ayurveda. And in Ayurveda, for example, the energies also influence your look.
Right.
So I can look at people and I can
Hmm.
kind of tell already what energies they
Yes.
have.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
tall and skinny usually has a lot of air.
Hmm.
Uh, heavy set, and heavy set could be. It doesn't mean that it's your natural
Hmm.
constitution.
Right.
It's like, so I because that could just be a side effect.
Right.
So, but if you like a heavy bone,
Right.
like a football, somebody who plays
Right. Right.
football,
Right. Right.
you have a lot of earth in there because you
Hmm.
have really big, strong bones. Um, fire people often have red hair, for
Hmm.
example.
Hmm.
So it is very, very interesting, and the more you know about it, you can
Hmm.
actually already see like, or here's the interesting fact. I don't know if you knew that, but lawyers,
Yeah.
what do you think what energy lawyers have?
Well, I mean, they're definitely fire and air, because they love, they're very passionate. I mean, they think a lot. You have to, right? You have to be very logical. You can't just go there and say, "Hey, I think so." You have to know, but also they have to be very passionate about what they do, because they work like 100 hours a week. Who wants to do that? I don't know. Well, I mean, I guess I do it too as a writer, but but they do definitely have that, that.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. And with voice too, you can tell with voice too. For example,
Yeah.
like people who have very deep voices, they're
Hmm.
usually earth.
Yes. And
And
lion is
people who are super loud,
air.
like
Hmm.
me.
Right, right, right. No, but also like, and you can always spot a water person too. Like they are so gentle and mellow, and they're just like everyone just wants to be around them because they just like they exude this like come and swim with me kind of feeling emotion. And yeah, so totally. But I want
Yeah.
to also like mention the fact that the elements also like compete with each other, and this is like really interesting thing because like if you go if a fire person goes close to a water person, right? Well, what do fire and water do to each other? They put each other
Water
out,
puts out
right?
fire. Water puts out fire. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. So
This
if
is
you have right. So if you have a person who has a lot of fire in them and they come close to a person who has a lot of water in them, then we got a situation where we got flooding, so the fire person goes like, okay, let's fix this, let's talk about this, like, oh my god, and they get angry and they're all over the place, they're volatile, and the water person goes like, what are you doing, why are you doing this to me? And they send like a flood of water in their direction, and then the fire person goes like, okay, what is going on here? So and that's kind of like another thing that we need to realize when we're dating is that if you are looking for a person who is like opposite, the feuding elements, so fire, water, air, and earth, that can be a beautiful thing because when you combine water with fire, you get warm water, right? And then that's a beautiful thing because cold water is like depression and kind of wallowing and stuff like that. But you have to realize that if you have a partner or you find a partner who has very strong the elements, main elements are opposing, unless you learn how to use your other elements kind of to balance, like earth and air, or whichever way you're going, you're gonna have a lot of conflict. So that's just something to look for. And as you said, you can actually kind of already spot the person, like when you know how to read the energies. If you have a lot of water in you, you're very emotional, you may not want to go with that passionate lawyer, even though he makes all that money. I mean, seriously, like he's gonna like come home and he's gonna be all over the place, and you're gonna go like, can't you just hug me, right? Can you? And he goes like, why? I have a case to work on. So that's just something you may want to consider before, because when you meet, yeah, warm water is going to happen first, but when water and fire separate, it's going to be a little messy there. So
Yeah, and I actually looked into it. In Chinese, it's actually you add the wood and the metal as well. So it basically each react, fire burns wood and whatever. I
right,
don't
right,
remember now, but you can look this up online. It's very interesting. I don't know what it's called, but I would search for it, probably um signs, type in signs, how they react to each other or something,
right,
and you will probably
yeah,
get that
yeah,
circle. It's very interesting.
hmm
And honestly, for me, I believe in this so strongly,
hmm
because it's really true. It's experience,
right.
Losing my voice. Oh no, I'm losing my voice. Uh,
That's all right.
but
Yeah.
I believe in it so strongly that
hmm
honestly, and this is all experience as well. So I'm not just like blowing smoke here or whatever.
Right,
I
right.
have
No.
experienced this firsthand, and I see the similarities and everything. So that I actually don't even want to be friends with some people when I know they zodiac or I know
Yes.
they energy, because I'm like,
hmm
no, because
It's not gonna work.
this is, I mean, and I'm not just talking romantically, really.
No,
I'm
yeah, no, friendship too.
friendshiply, because
Yep.
I know I'm gonna be either bored, or I'm
hmm
not going to be understood, or
hmm
we're just not going to have anything in common that we
Right,
enjoy. So
right.
I'm like literally like somebody sends me a friend request, and I'm like looking up the birth month, and I'm like, I don't know, I'm not. And sometimes I'm like, oh yes, yes, this is an awesome person. I already know it, because
Oh my gosh. Yes.
yeah,
No, no, I
I
hear
mean,
you. No, totally. No, I hear you. And that's the kind of the thing. Like if you once you like learn the energies, life becomes so much easier. You're not gonna spend like so much of your time and your own energy just working with these people who just don't match you. Like
exactly,
you
you're not going to be disappointed,
yeah,
or what I do too sometimes, it tells me how to deal with the people.
right.
It tells me how I have to talk to them and how I have to make myself understood by them.
Yes,
So it can also
absolutely.
actually help you with communication if you have the energy to
Right.
deal with those kind of people. You can totally know, oh, okay, this person is a fire person or whatever, it's a Scorpio or whatever. Then you actually kind of learn how you can communicate better with these
Right.
people. So it's
Absolutely.
super
But
powerful.
Right, but you also know you're not going to become best friends. Like, so you're not going to waste like so much time and energy just like trying to make it work when it's not going to work, right? It's like, yeah, right. Because you literally cannot, like, air does not like earth. It likes to soar. So, I mean, you can be like, as you said, mentioned earlier, like, yeah, air needs earth. My gosh, I can't even say too many R's there. So it does need, because if we don't have the earth, we wouldn't have air. I mean, earth is the main element that balances all the other ones. It's like the reality check, right? So, but if you have
keeping you grounded, yeah.
Right. But if you have like a lot of air, I mean, trying to make it work with an earth person, unless you can like kind of incorporate, water and fire in there to make it like, maybe you can be more passionate, maybe you can more feeling, right? But if you try to like, especially when you argue, and that's a really interesting, I mean, dating, conflict doesn't really show up like early, but you kind of have to already consider it before, like when you meet, because if you want to hang out with this person for a long time, there is going to be conflict down the road, right? So you're going to have to think about, how am I going to solve the conflict with this?
Yeah. Okay, we're going to take a break real quick, and we'll be right back.
Oh, relax radio. Oh, relax radio.
Hey, welcome to the last segment of the show. We have, we're running out of time here. This flew by really fast. So we're talking about dating and how you really should, the best way of finding your partner or a really good friend or your best friend is literally knowing who you are, what energy you carry in within you, and also to be true to yourself, and don't bend backwards. Do not do things you wouldn't do 10 years later.
Right.
If you know, hey, I'm not gonna hold the door open for this lady for the rest of my life, don't do it in the first week either. Just be who you are. That's the best, because otherwise you're gonna end up in a relationship that you're not gonna like, or where there's gonna be a lot of conflict, and you have to go to therapy and whatever. It's just not worth it. And listen to your gut too. Because the gut tells like, if somebody gives you a response like on a dating app or whatever, and you already like you think then just let it be right there. Because that's your intuition right there, your gut instinct. Don't I mean, I know it's hard times, we want to socialize, we haven't socialized in so long, we're doing this thing we're doing right now here, like and and that is just it's frustrating. I understand. But again, I repeat this one more time. Hi, hello, Tanzila.
Hey.
We're fine. We're fine. We're frustrated a little bit with all these dating apps and these
Yes.
people pretending who they are and they're not and all that stuff. It's a frustrating issue. But again, I'm telling you, there's nothing wrong with you. Never ever think that you are doing something wrong. And I think this is also a big problem because, people tend to instantly jump in there.
Mhm.
Oh, something is wrong with me. Oh, I have to do something different. And then they
Right.
try to please. They try to please. Don't please.
Mhm.
Okay, don't
No.
please, be who you are, because the right person who will enjoy that energy that you're giving out, they will stick around.
Yes.
People who
Absolutely.
fly away, the butterflies, as you told
Right.
me, right? The
Right. Right.
butterflies, they're
Right.
gonna fly away, and that's okay.
Mhm.
Let them fly.
Yeah.
You just want the right
Totally.
flower.
Totally. Yeah. And I think a lot of times, like, we have this idea who we should be in our heads, and we try to like portray it because we think that is going to make people love us more. And then we end up in this cycle where we just have to hide ourselves for our entire lives, because the second we show who we truly are, people freak out and go like, this is not who you were supposed to be. Like, who are you now? I don't know you. So
Mhm.
yeah. So again, it goes back to the line. And, from having been born in Europe and coming to this country, I love being here. I'm not saying anything about that, but it's just like the social lying in the US is very, it's a big thing. Like, everyone says, oh, I'm great. How are you? Like, yeah, life is good, right? And then it bleeds into dating. Like, when you start talking to someone, it's like, oh, I'm this great person and I have a great life. Maybe that's true, maybe not. So, but do you really think that that person's going to be impressed with you once they find the truth? So
Mhm.
so it's like, it's so much better to be, you can, I mean, okay, so you can polish it a little bit, right? You can like make yourself, put the best foot forward. I'm not saying that you have to like say like, okay, I'm an awful person, because you don't have to tell every truth the first second you meet someone. That's not the point. But the point is
Yeah.
that just like to actually like just show your own energy. Don't try to hide it. If you are earth, then don't try to be air. Don't try to like be super chatty, because that person, as you said, is going to expect that chattiness,
Mhm.
6 months down the road, and then suddenly you want to be quiet, and that person's going to go like, okay, yeah. So
Mhm.
totally,
Exactly.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. Don't. Yeah. Um. Yeah. And yeah. And I mean, you can do the best that you can be, your best
right,
self within that
absolutely,
energy. There is nothing wrong with that,
no,
because
no,
you might have a crappy day or whatever, and then you have to go out on a date. You don't want to be like, oh, life
of
sucks and
course not,
whatever. I just,
no,
no. I mean, put your really like yourself in that, how you are in your best mood,
right,
that's okay. But yeah, don't try to be somebody who you're not, because
right.
I mean, that's just never gonna work out.
It's that it doesn't even work out with yourself, if you really think about it. Like, if you like try to pretend to be someone you're not going to
Mhm.
have a happy life. I mean, you're constantly going to be struggling with yourself. You're constantly going to feel that your life isn't yours. You're always going to, and I actually wrote about that in my book. When people want to kind of feel that they want to be someone else, like they constantly feel like there's something wrong, they don't really want to be someone else. They want to find who they truly truly are. So they're basically looking for their authentic selves. And if
Mhm.
you find your own energy, that's the first step. And there's a lot to it, as we already said. It's not just like one thing. There's a lot to our energy and who we are. But if you can just kind of get to the point, like, okay, either I'm a slow energy, I'm a middle energy, or I'm a high energy.
Mhm.
I've always, especially as women, we always told you, be quiet, demure, kind of like, it's changing now, but it used to be more like that. In our age group, especially, we know about that. So we always told, like, just take the back seat, be the earth, take care of the kids and the home and the house and everything else. Why do you want to write? Why do you want to think? And we told that
Yeah.
air and fire were like for men, and water and earth were for women, right? But that's not necessarily who we are. So if we find,
Yeah.
just go for it. Like, if you are earth, like air, like we are, like, enjoy it. There's nothing wrong with you for wanting to do things that society doesn't necessarily think that you should be doing. But who cares? It's your life, not theirs, right?
Exactly. Be who you are. And then here's another thing. And let's say, you meet somebody who is like kind of opposite of you, then there is a really good rule that here's what I think about it. Either think right away, okay, this is not gonna work, I cannot deal with it, and there's nothing wrong with that, and be honest about it, or learn to love those characteristics about the person.
Right.
You know, because if you let's say this person looks really hot, okay,
Right,
she's
right.
so hot, and you're like, oh my god, this is like, you know, then but then if there's annoying things that just don't match with you, then think, okay, you know what, but this is what this person is.
Right.
This is who this person is, and I will accept who this person is, and I will deal with that and accept it and completely love this person for what they bring.
Right.
If you can get yourself to that state, that you are okay with it, and you know, I don't want to say tolerate, but kind of like tolerate and deal with that and try and learn to love that person with those things that you are really not, which is not really your comfort zone and not your familiar, like for example, like fire, you know, I'm like my main, so by me, with me, I'm starting to talk German, I don't know why, but with me, air is the most, and fire is just a little bit below, and very little earth.
Yes.
I have a really big problem with patience, and I am so if you're impatient, you're definitely not earth. Let me tell you that right there. That's like a given.
Yes.
And I have to literally teach myself to be patient, because air and fire is very fast moving.
Yes.
We're just like, we're just zooming all over the place.
Yeah.
Earth is like snail. And people who are like that, even when they talk, like, oh, I am talking like this, and my god, it just drives me nuts.
Yes.
I'm like, I already know what the person is saying. I already know the end of the sentence, and I'm like,
I really hear you.
Please talk faster, because I already know the whole story. I'm already end of the story, you know, and you didn't even start it yet.
And that's exactly right. And that's exactly what the frequencies are all about. Like everything in this universe vibrates, right? Everything has a frequency, right? So energies have frequency too. So yeah, if you put a fire and earth person together, the earth moves like what, 1 megahertz or whatever I don't even know what they are, but you know, and fire's like 9 to 10, you know, careening over there, and air is like 7 to 8, whatever, you know. And it's like, yeah, they're basically like, you know, air needs to move. If you put an air in a bottle, you get bad things, right? You know, but earth in a bottle is a good thing, right? So they really like to be slow. So totally, but I do agree with what you said, that if you love someone, you can also accept their energy, but you just have to, in the beginning, realize what you want, so it doesn't surprise you, you know. So you don't like wake up from this oxytocin rush and go like, oh my god, you know, I thought you were this person and you're not, and then you start thinking something wrong with that person and you, and then you go back to the dating app and you look for the same thing, and then, you know, so you go back and forth and back and forth. And that is you're just gonna break your heart and everybody else's heart too. So it's so much better to just from the get-go or decide, what do I want, you know, what do I want, and be honest about it, like you said. So just, you know, and yes, fireworks do happen. I'm not saying they don't, but you know, once the you know, if you're looking for something long term, you need to also look beyond the fireworks, you know. And that's kind of what the energy comes into, you know.
Absolutely.
So,
and if you have a good match, then I think the fireworks will remain, because they feed each other with the right energies. But if you actually learn to accept that, you know what, this is what my partner is, I need, you know, I have a question, I know in a month I will get the answer. If you can deal with it, I can't. But if you can deal with that, and you can accept the person for who they are, and you can accept those energies, then I think it's also a really good deal. But you have to be aware of that, and you have to be like, okay, you know what, I have to understand that not everybody is vibrating as I do, you know. But honestly, for me, the slowness, it's like, that's just like, it's really, really hard for me. I don't think, because if I already can, you know, know where everything is going all the time, and I just don't have I can't do it. It's like really hard for me. So but I know what I want, and I know that's not working out for me. Or
Right.
like I told you at the beginning, if somebody just says hey in a chat, I'm like, okay, delete. I'm done with
Right.
it, because
Right.
for me communication is important.
Right. Totally. No, I totally hear with you. And I said, like, yeah, the fireworks are gonna be there, but it's just like it's gonna be in a more muted form. So as I said, like a lot of fire people, because you mentioned fireworks, want the fireworks to be there forever, but they're not gonna necessarily be there forever, right? So just like, and I'm saying what I'm trying to say here is that if you look for those fireworks to be there all the time, then you definitely need to find another fire person too. You can't, like, that's kind of what my point was, that if you want that, that passion to be there, well, then you need to find a passionate person too. So you need to look for that energy, and and not
Exactly.
the money, right?
Not the money, not the looks. So
Money.
we're unfortunately done with the show. So last sentence here that I want to tell you again: be yourself and be aware of what you want, and that's the most important thing. Know what you can deal with and what you cannot deal with, and your relationships will be much happier then from that point on, because you're much more aware of who you are. Super cool topic. This was Susanna Criso, and I'm gonna show one more time her book if you're interested in her book. I Love Your Energy, and was super fun. And we'll be back. Susanna will be a kind of a semi-regular guest here, because we click really good. Our energies are really good clicking,
No,
right?
same. Well, thanks for having me. It was great.
Okay, thank you for being here, and I hope you enjoyed the show. Bye, everybody.
Bye.